feedback.
Hey, what's going on, good people? Welcome back to the channel. So I just finished up this interview with a good friend of mine. He's in the real estate business and he's accumulated a lot of assets. He's a multimillionaire, but it's not about the numbers that I want to focus on. In that interview specifically, I want to talk about how he got started and the mind frame for him to get started. And the reason why I did that is because when I went on Instagram and other social media sites and asked the questions, to the people who were interested in listening to the conversation, a lot of them were asking questions around how did he get started or when did he get started. And I think that's the part that we get stuck on, is that when to start or how to start. So if you are one of these three people, this is for you. If you are like me, in most cases, I'm almost like that analysis by paralysis, where I'll research everything to the nines. I mean, everything. I'll read books on it. I got a series of books behind me now. Just different investment opportunities, different things to leverage when it comes to financials and so on and so forth. If you're like me, I encourage you to stop reading because you've done all the reading. And literally, when you start to look through all these different books and these magazines and articles, they're all saying the same thing, just with a different lens and a different language. So at this point now it's time for you to say, you know what? I've done all the research that I can do, and now I just have to implement. And if you are number two, you're looking at others and you're comparing your journey now that hasn't even started to the end result. This video is for you. You can't compare them. You have to understand that there's a process in play in order for them to get there. And a lot of times, too, it's just longevity. I had a question. This one guy asked me, what do you focus on now? Do you focus on quality or quantity? Mind you, I'm new to this. But to me, my perspective is one will feed into the other. So over time, as I put out horrible editing like this one, and where the visuals aren't the best and the lighting is horrible and the audio could be better because I'm using, and the more inexpensive tool set just because I want to get into the game, over time I will learn different things. So the quantity is going to lead to the quality, because the more and more I fine tune this and I refine my skill sets, then of course I'll get more educated on the tools, I'll get more educated on the process, and then from there the end result will materialize, right? So I want to encourage you, don't compare yourself to anyone else because their journey is different. Plus, you are comparing your journey that hasn't started yet to the end result. And if you're number three, this video is for you as well. If you're number three and you are just looking at just the landscape and you feel as though everyone is doing this, you're so unique. I'm telling you. There might be other people who are doing whatever podcast you want to do. And I'm doing podcasts because I speak to podcasts because this is the podcast. But if you want to write a book, you want to write a children's book, if you want to open up a storefront, if you want to do a blog, if you want to do anything in the content creation space, I don't care what the business is. You want to do another startup or tech startup, whatever the case is, your lens is so unique because your experiences that you have gone through are unique to you. So your lessons learned from those different things are going to be implemented so different. So this is just to encourage you. If you're one of those three people, now it's time for us to really execute and get out there and kind of do these different things. I was reading Zechariah, and I always go back to the New Living Version just because there's a little bit more to consume. And in Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise small beginnings, for when you begin, the Lord rejoices." And I love this because God is just looking for you to start, because when you start, now you actually amplify the gifts that he has given you, all the talents that he has stored inside of you. Now you can showcase it. And this also resonates with me too, because I've always battled with, well, how do I honor God, but I'm not in the pulpit, right? Or how do I honor God and I'm not necessarily serving in a ministry in the church, right, in a brick and mortar? And that's not the case. You don't have to be in a pulpit or have to be, in a brick and mortar, whatever the case is, to honor God. You honor God through applying his principles. You honor God by giving thanks. You honor God by magnifying what he's doing in your life. And there's so many stories in the Bible about just how he honors people who actually apply their talents. So, and also by walking by faith. I can't ignore that, because unless you are operating in that, you're not going to actually amplify or execute on the gifts that he has given you. You have to apply your faith to it. So I just came up here to encourage you, man. That episode is going to drop here soon, but I just felt led to do something a little bit more like this, because I feel as there's a lot of people who are looking for that moment, right? They're looking for that push maybe, or maybe they don't have that community where they can actually tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, look, man, I need some help with this. Well, if you need that, this is your sign to go out there and do it, all right? And I pray this encourages you, and I pray that if you were looking for that bump, that hey, this is your bump, and I am part of your community. Whatever that looks like, I'm part of your community. All right? Y'all stay encouraged, and let's go out there and conquer the things that God has for us. Y'all be easy.